Tomorrow night, Game 4 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals on ESPN. Cleveland-Toronto Game 3 got a little testy Saturday night. I always like my playoffs with a little bit of anger. Just adds that edge to it. We start our coverage at 7:30 Eastern with NBA Countdown. Game 4, ESPN NBA Eastern Conference Finals, coming up tomorrow. Ready for the Fast 9. Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Simon Pagenaud, the first car to roll from the pit lane and begin his warm-up. Someone's going home with this trophy. And a little check for $100,000 within the next hour or so. Alan Bestwick, the 98 Indy 500 winner Eddie Cheever, and two-time runner-up Scott Goodyear. You've both been here before when you had a car you thought was capable of winning the pole. How did that change things for you when you walked out to the grid for qualifying?
You throw all the caution out, and you tell yourself, I am not going to lift my foot off the throttle, and you just go for broke. Being on pole at Indianapolis is second only to winning the race that year.
And it's very difficult because you're trying to convince yourself that you don't have to take your foot off the throttle going into turn one. And that's what these drivers are going to be trying to do here today. It doesn't really matter about what the engineers say to you and what they're trying to explain to you. What you're trying to focus on is convincing your right foot to stay on the gas for the first green flag lap going into turn one, which is so difficult to do.
And is right here for Simon Pagenaud. Championship leader in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He comes in having won the last 3 consecutive races in the series, but those were all on road courses. Pagenaud, a factor to win the 500 a year ago, and ran into someone, had a little damage to his front wing, sent him all the way to the back of the field late in the race. He rallied all the way up to finish in the top 10.
And he barely made the Fast 9 yesterday. He was 9th. So this is a car that I expect to go much quicker today than he did yesterday.
Pagenaud, the 32-year-old from France, lived in Indianapolis here for many years, now lives in Cornelius, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, closer to the Penske Racing headquarters in Mooresville, North Carolina. Professor Pagenaud, they call him. Very pleasant, polite, personable to talk to, loves to talk racing, and is always informative when you do have a chat with Simon.
You know, the pressure when you show up at Penske, because you know that you are there to win. Last year, he didn't get the results. The pressure was on him, but he said, you know, over the winter, they did a lot of work, looked at a lot of data, came back and decided, you know something, I have the confidence. Rick Mears said, when we went to the very first test this year, I could see the confidence in him. I knew exactly right away that he was going to be a contender for race wins throughout the year.
But I wonder if Rick thought he would have 3 wins and 2 seconds in his first 5 races leading up to the Indianapolis 500.
He may not have thought, but when you drive for Penske, you're expected to win. That's why he hires you.
As Rick says, you have all the tools in the world, so just make good use of them. And they're all very tight teammates.
So let's look at these numbers. High 229 to start with. We will see the speeds fall off each lap as we go. What's a number? What are you thinking is going to take to win this thing?
I think it's going to have to be above 230.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think the 229s as an average are going to get you, maybe not even on the front row, but the conditions have changed since yesterday. The wind seems to be about the same. The temperature is higher. So, the ambient's higher. Track temperature is higher. Cars generally slow down a little bit in the heat eddy, as we know. So this will be the first gauge to what we expect from other drivers to come.
Yesterday, Pagenaud averaged 230.102 for his 4-lap trip. You see what he's averaging now as he comes to the checkered flag and the first of the Fast 9 to complete his run. 229.139, so about a full mile an hour slower. How much of that is weather conditions or not? Will everybody be a full mile an hour slower? That's the story that'll unfold.
And you were absolutely right. Every lap he did from the first to the fourth was a little bit slower.
Yesterday, the air temperature was around 72 degrees and the track temperature was anywhere from 93 to 96 while they were running their qualification attempts. You see much hotter today and a hotter track temperature, wind speed and direction, so critical to these teams. The direction is close to the same as it was yesterday. Headwind down the front stretch, tailwind down the front stretch, headwind down the back stretch. But it seems to be gusting up a little stronger right now than it was late in the day yesterday when a lot of the quick numbers were put down.
Wind is always a big factor here, but we have to add one element that we haven't talked about. They had all night to do the math on these cars, trying to figure out what they had learned in Saturday's pre-qualifying, if you want.
Here is Carlos Munoz driving for Andretti Autosport, the 24-year-old from Bogota, Colombia, now living in Miami. He made a splash on the scene here at Indianapolis, if you will, a couple of years ago, his rookie season of 2013, when he qualified for the middle of the front row, and then he raced for the win, finishing second.
I spoke to him the other day. He said, I'm having fun again. The team is really working on, everything's firing on all cylinders. And you mentioned something about the first year that he was here. He looked at me and he said, you know something? It reminds me a little bit of the very first year that I came here. Maybe that's not going to be a good omen for the rest of the people out there, because he was a threat to win that year.
Yes, he has such fast hands. I really believe the year that Kanaan won, if the race had gone for one more corner, Munoz would have been the Indy 500 champion.
The tracker, the yellow arrow showing where he is in comparison to the others of the 9. And remember, none of these drivers can start worse than 9th in the 500, but Munoz right now a little bit faster than Simon Pagenaud. Remember, they're running in reverse order of the speeds they posted yesterday. So the fastest driver yesterday, Hinchcliffe, will run last.
And that gives him a little bit of an advantage. This track always gets faster as the day goes on.
230.1 miles an hour for his first lap.
Now we can watch the throttle there on the screen. We'll wait to see if he has to have any lifts. You can see he's in 4th gear, just watching the speed. 232 going into turn 3. The goal again for the drivers, the track will change, the car will change. His job as a driver, not only to navigate the racing line, but to make adjustments with the suspension and what they call the weight jacker inside the car to keep the car handling at its optimum.
240 turning into turn 1.
Now, another element that comes into play here are team cars and sharing of information. Jan?
Yes, we're already seeing some team tactics. Ryan Hunter-Reay, of course, a teammate to Carlos Munoz, got into the car early, has plugged in his radio, and he's going to listen to the debrief immediately from Carlos Munoz. As you have seen, huge speed for Munoz, but he's had to lift a little bit in turn 1. Ryan Hunter-Reay listening, watching, because this will be a very close interpretation of what he needs to do to his car.
Another over 230 miles an hour for Munoz. Hunter-Reay will be the second to last driver to run, the winner from 2 years ago, that thrilling duel with Helio Castroneves.
This is a really good, consistently fast run.
You know, I'm sitting here and we're watching the speeds, and you and I have done this because we've done the speeds going down the straightaway, but every time I see that miles per hour, 240 miles an hour, I've had more respect for what we did now that we're out of it and standing in this safe television booth than when we were sitting in the cockpit.
Interesting, unusual thing for Munoz as he comes to the checkered flag. Normally a speed gets slower each lap along the way. Look at those laps across the top. His first 3 laps were faster and faster and faster before losing a fraction on the 4th.
He's one of the few to be able to do that today.
Yeah, it's just not the trend. It's not what we've seen through 2 days. Doc?
Checking in with Simon Pagenaud. Simon, 229.139, the 4-lap average, about a mile an hour slower than yesterday. I heard you on the radio comment about some of the handling issues. You said loose in 3. How much is the weather playing into the changing track conditions?
Yeah, it's a lot harder. When it's harder, the car slides a lot more. So, that's the key right there. We had to put downforce on the car to compensate for the conditions. So you're going to lose speed. But what Munoz just did is a big lap for sure. The handling was great. The Menards car is handling perfectly. It's just, it is one of these things, and the wind's going to die, so that's going to help the others. But overall, I'm happy. I think we're in top 9. That's the biggest thing. If we can be top 5, I'd be really happy. It would be a really good place to start. I think we've got a stronger race car, so pretty exciting.
Simon Pagenaud, by the way, got on with his engineer as soon as he climbed out of the car, and they got on the radios to his other teammates waiting to run, so already passing information down to Castroneves and Will Power.
So there is Munoz, now the leader, just the second of 9 drivers to run. What a story Mikhail Aleshin is. The driver from Moscow, the first Russian to race in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Not just his performance yesterday, but his journey to get here as he takes the green flag. 2014, like many, on track to try and race in Formula One, but it is such about mega dollars to race there. His sponsorship and his backing was only going to get him maybe an also-ran shot. He wanted to race to win, so he looked to America, and he moved to the United States and got a ride in the Verizon IndyCar Series, took a condo in downtown Indianapolis. He knew no one. He went to the Schmidt-Peterson racing shops every single day, delved into learning IndyCar racing. His first season, there were some confrontations. He wasn't maybe one of the guys, but he persevered. Then at the end of that season, had a terrible wreck out in Fontana, California, badly injured. The next season, as he's recovering from that, some of the politics between his home nation and ours got in the way of his sponsorship being able to be activated. So he raced in Europe last year. This year, some of those hurdles cleared up. He's back in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Yesterday, he put on a show in qualifying to get his car into this Fast 9.
It was the first time I've ever seen anybody in a long time have a four-wheel drift for 3 laps in a row in turn 1. He was sideways the whole way around, never took his foot out of the throttle.
And he's been so close to the wall many occasions here. And as we've been watching him, I heard the crowd in the background outside of our television booth because they're watching on monitors also, just like that. And heard a big sigh of relief when he missed the wall a couple times there just a moment ago. And again, very close.
While we watch a Loshin run, we check with Rick.
Carlos Munoz already pacing in one place, if that's possible, down here. Right now, you're the lead man. Let's talk about your run. Incredibly consistent. In fact, your speed's improved. How did you do that?
Oh, man, I was talking with my engineer. Should we put a little bit more downforce? Should we go for it? And I was so nervous, my engineer said, let's go for downforce. The race is the important thing here. So let's go for the downforce, and I play with my tools a lot, and that I was really progressive with my tool. I knew the car have to be settled, so I wasn't pushing 100%. But this run, man, was really good. Let's see if it's enough speed for the pole. We'll see what we have. I have another 2 teammates, so we'll see what they got. But the UFD car half running so good. Let's see what we got in the end of the day.
All right, he's ready if he can hang on.
You could hear the speed in his voice in talking. What an exhilaration that run was.
He's still on the racetrack.
Yes. Checkered flag for Mikhail Loshin. He will post the second fastest time, 229.562 miles an hour. Carlos Munoz leads. Joseph Newgarden is on the track next. Back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final drivers to qualify for the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. Who gets the pole? Joseph Newgarden has just turned the first 231-mile-an-hour average lap on the first of his 4 trips around the Speedway. There's the second. That's at 230.7.
He's got a very interesting line, Scott, doesn't he?
It's interesting because he may have a little bit more downforce on the car. That means more grip through the turns than being able to go have the speed down the straightaway. We've not seen the numbers going into turn 1 like we've seen the other drivers. A couple of miles an hour short, but his arc looks good, Eddie, to your point. Not really getting too far below the white line. So
and look how much distance he has between him and the wall on the exit.
Yeah. So did they put maybe a bit too much downforce on? But what they're focusing on is not letting the car slide across the road for the last couple of laps, and this will be the telltale right now. Another 230, but still tracking first. So for a driver that started his go-kart racing here in the state of Indiana, out at Mark Dismore's Newcastle Motorsport Park, a track that Mark built once he retired out of IndyCar racing. A lot of karters have got their start there, including Connor Daly. So a lot of ties here to the state of Indiana, and that's why you hear the crowd really cheering for him.
This young American has put down a really good qualifying run.
Checkered flag. And new leader, Joseph Newgarden. Ed Carpenter is team owner. Newgarden, of course, from Nashville, Tennessee, normally considered NASCAR country, but his dream was open wheel racing. And you mentioned the trips up and down the highway to come here to the Indianapolis area to pursue that dream. And now Joseph sits in the #1 spot. in qualifying for the 100th Indianapolis 500. Doc?
With Mikhail Aloshin, and Mikhail, at least 3 times during your run, you were a couple inches, no more, away from the wall. Looked like you had your hands full. Take us through your run.
Yeah, I mean, that run was a bit mad. I was really on the limit, and I tried to push everything I could from the car. Obviously, maybe it was probably not enough for the pole, but we're still going to start from at least P8 at this moment, so it's not too bad, but we're going to see what's going to happen.
Okay, Mikhail Aloshin, and by the way, he talked to engineers. He mentioned the lack of downforce. I wonder if they will pass that along to his teammate, James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, no doubt, Doc. So congratulations to Newgarden, provisional pole sitter for now. Townsend Bell, look at that from a morning warm-up.
Oh, you don't get away with that very often. Almost reading the sponsor's name on the side of the side pod, Eddie. And you know something? How often does drivers get away with that?
But he's been on a high. He's been so competitive since he started doing his first lap on this Indy 500. So that was just probably a mundane correction for him. He's been quick. He's been aggressive. And he is going to do a big number here.
Bell, the 41-year-old from California, at his 10th Indianapolis 500. This is the only IndyCar Series race that he runs. He spends most of the IndyCar Series in the television booth for our colleagues over at NBCSN, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do a lot of racing in the year. He races all over the world in the sports cars.
Yes, he does, and I've seen him win. I was there when he won the Daytona 24 Hours in a Ferrari.
2 years ago in this race was in a 3-wide race for second place on a restart with 25 to go. Then things went wrong from there. The rest of the race didn't get the finish he was hoping for, but Townsend is fast. He's eloquent. He knows all of the pitfalls and problems of racing here in Indianapolis. And he's with Andretti Autosport, who have had very fast Hondas, as you mentioned, Eddie, since they opened for practice.
Yes, he has been very competitive, and I am always so impressed that he can just turn up here at Indy and fall into the speed. It's very difficult. Having done it, it's very difficult to do.
Now, I heard a little bit of a bobble going into 3, so I'm not so sure. Maybe he didn't just catch the rev limiter at the very end of the straightaway there. Sometimes that will cost you some speed on a lap, but it didn't look like it harmed him at all. But, you know, we talk about Townsend Bell. I think about a guy that's probably one of the best businessmen outside of the cockpit. Puts these programs together like he's done here with Robert Graham, and is very personable and likable. He gets here with such enthusiasm, but he just seemed to be so happy to be back here at Indianapolis again, an opportunity to run the Indy 500.
There's Newgarden, currently sitting on top of the scoring pylon while Townsend Bell runs his third of 4 laps. You see right now he's tracking second. Sorry.
Check his speed in the straightaway. 238, 239.
Pretty sporty. Jan?
We talk about he being a businessman. Well, right now he's a business worker in the cockpit. The team called him just before the run, and get this. All right, work your weight jacker. When you go into turn 1, take your bar and go soft. Now, as you're approaching turn 3, move it hard. Okay, they're running him through. Eddie, you're talking about what it takes to get in the groove of running an Indy car here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He is working all the tools right now, and he's starting to pick up some pace.
Checkered flag is up. He's up to second. Each lap has been faster than the one before. Is this faster yet?
It is.
It was, but he's second. Newgarden still on top. How about that, Rick?
Well, you were watching that the whole time, wondering what exactly Townsend Bell was going to do. But let's talk about the very first lap you ran. You said it shocked you.
Yeah, I mean, I got going up the gears, and I went 5th, 6th on the front stretch, and it was just on the limiter. And, you know, with this headwind, normally you downshift on the back stretch, and I was just holding 6 on the limiter all the way through 2. And, you know, I was like, what the hell is going on? This thing is super quick, and it's the quickest the car has been all month, I would say. So it's a good time to peak. Hopefully it's going to be enough. You know, wherever we end up, great job to all our guys. I mean, we've had fast car all month. We need to make a fast race car, but preferred Freezer being on board, Fuzzy's Vodka, everyone that's involved, it's been a lot of fun.
Let's talk about the conditions out there in terms of how it's changed and what it's like right now for these guys who are driving.
Well, it's getting better. You know, I kind of wish qualifying was bumped up an hour. It's going to start getting better after 5 o'clock. It's just the way Indianapolis works. That's why we call happy hour 5 to 6. So The wind's going to start dying down a little bit. Track temp's coming down, and the track temp dying is really the biggest thing that helps us. I mean, it just helps the tires last longer, creates a little bit better downforce in the car. It just works better when it's a little cooler on track temp. So, for us, hoping it doesn't work too well for these next couple guys, but like I said, wherever we end up, I think we're going to be pretty happy going into the 500.
All right, Joseph Newgarden right now, the provisional pole sitter here at Indy.
One thing we know for sure, whether it holds up for pole position or not, Newgarden will get his best start in the Indianapolis 500 in his 5th race here. His best start was 7th, and with 4 drivers remaining, worst he's going to be able to start is 5th. So here is the 3-time winner, Helio Castroneves. Never count him out.
Who was driving for Penske. And this is the 100th Indianapolis 500. How perfect would that be for Castroneves to become the 4th 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner on next weekend? And he has it. Yesterday his performance was exceptional. They had dug themselves in a bit of a hole and just kept getting better and better and better, and he had to work very hard to get in the Fast 9 yesterday.
Went out and bumped his way in late in the day. There you see Castroneves trying to join A.J. Foyt, Al Unser Sr. and Rick Mears as a 4-time winner of the event. His car, too, with a little bit unique aerodynamic setup on it, as you can see. The 2 types of aerodynamic trim you can use to cover those rear wheels. He's got a race rear wheel guard on the left side and a qualifying rear wheel ramp, they call it, on the right side. Each one of these teams trying to find what's the best combination to put together the fastest 4 laps.
And there's so many different combinations that we have seen. It's not just one thing. You can take a piece and leave another. So there's been a lot of thinking on what they put on that car, and they spent all last night trying to figure out what is the right configuration that we can have if it is warm or if it is cold.
And you talk about that, and that's what the engineers are looking for all the time, but it comes down to driver preference. Each driver feels the car a little bit differently. You have to have the confidence of the car, so you keep your foot in the gas. So it really comes down to what Rick Mears, who's the team coach for Team Penske, always says: trust your backside, and that will make you a confident driver. So for Helio right now, it doesn't look like he's getting the speed of the car. We're not seeing the miles per hour at the end of the straightaway, so hence have they gone with a little bit more downforce to make the car a little bit more stable in these heating conditions. That might be what they've done.
2 laps in the 2:29s for Castroneves. Originally from Sao Paulo, Brazil, now lives in Fort Lauderdale. Of course, Mr. Personality, if you will. His enthusiasm for this race and this speedway is boundless.
He reminds me of a modified version of Danny Sullivan. Danny Sullivan, I think we used to call him Mr. Hollywood. So he's taken that concept and even gone farther with it. And he's won Indy 3 times, by the way, which I have to keep mentioning. He's the only person in the field that has won the Indianapolis 500 3 times.
Well, you say Mr. Hollywood, he's actually gone to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Won Dancing with the Stars.
He didn't just go there, he won.
Yes.
I knew he had made it when I went to Starbucks once. I ordered a coffee and some lady called it a Castroneves because it was from Brazil, so I figured he's big time now.
I'll bet it was bold.
It was very bold, very strong.
Yes. Right now tracking to be 5th out of 6 that have gone. So the 2 Penske cars that have run so far in the Fast 9 are the slowest 2. Now again, they're still going to start in the first 3 rows, but not on the front row. Castroneves, 2:29.115 for Roger Penske. Still to come, Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and James Hinchcliffe. Who's on the pole for the 100th Indianapolis 500? Back in 90 seconds. Tonight on ESPN, following Sunday Night Baseball, which is, by the way, the Cubs and the Giants. Sports Center at night with Scott Van Pelt. Full breakdown of Game 3 between the Warriors and the Thunder. Game 5 of the Lightning and Penguins in hockey. The baseball highlights, who's on the pole in Indianapolis, and more. Sports Center at night on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. It is pole day for the Indianapolis 500. And we're down to the final 3 drivers. Here is Will Power, who last year started 2nd and finished 2nd in the race in that last lap's battle with Juan Pablo Montoya, where he came so close to winning the 500.
And that battle really was just a battle of willpower, excuse the pun, and Montoya won. They were both so close. Expect a big number from Power here, Scott.
thing about Will is that he's so focused on his craft. When he got with Team Penske, moved over to North Carolina so he'd have the opportunity to be close to the team. Let's watch for that number now. If it's going to be 36, 37, what do we have? Oh, 35. Will that be fast enough to get it done? Now, I wonder, once we saw the Castroneves car not having so much speed, are both the cars going to have the same setup? Will they struggle with the same thing, trying to get some speed out of the car?
Let's hear from Townsend Bell, who just finished qualifying. He's second right now.
Yeah, each and every lap for Townsend Bell, quicker and quicker. 2:30.7 final lap by Townsend. After the monster moment, as you described it, you had yesterday, how tough was it to go out and qualify?
Well, that monster moment was about 3 hours ago. It was in today's practice, and that was the end of my session, was that big save in one. So my Andretti Honda guys made good adjustments. I was confident the car would be all right. I just had to make sure in one not to throw it away, and that probably hurt us a bit. But big thanks to Robert Graham, California Pizza Kitchen, all the people that have got me here. I've got a great race car for the 100th running.
Townsend Bell right now, second overall.
All right, Doc, thanks. Will Power a little slower on lap 2 than lap 1. You see he's tracking in 4th position. One thing we know right now is that we will add a new name to the list of pole winners for the Indianapolis 500-mile race. None of the drivers left to run have won a pole position yet for the 500.
That's true.
And Newgarden, by the way, too, who's on pole currently. So lap 3 for Will Power, a tick slower yet.
I'm still having a hard time watching the Penske cars not be 1, 2, 3, and 4. This new regulation they come out with this dome skid has really created a lot of havoc, trying to get the car trimmed out for qualifying.
Anytime you change the formula, right, there's a lot of searching to be done. And some people hit on the solution more quickly than others. That's just true without racing.
But you would expect a team like Penske, with all the drivers they have, that they'd have all that information and find their way to the top. Even Ganassi has struggled with this.
Nobody said it'd be easy. Checkered flag, Will Power, 4th, 229.669. Newgarden dodges another one.
That's got to be disappointing.
Left to go.
That run has to be disappointing for Penske.
Newgarden having to make that agonizing wait.
Oh, it's wonderful. What a great position to be in. We're going into the 100th Indy 500. We have a young American who has been so far the fastest. He's enjoying every second of this, but it will be agonizing if he watches somebody beat him by 0.02 of a second or 0.03 of a second, Scott, which happens so often here. We really are at the point of the arrow here.
Really is a family affair, because I saw Joseph's parents when we were interviewing him there, and they were also supportive when he went through all his karting and at every race that they can attend. But for him right now, you know, you've been in that position, I've been in that position, to have the whole gallery around you right now, so he's sort of looking around and hoping it turns out well. But I remember when I was trying to get in the field one time and I got knocked out of the field, I was standing there with that gallery looking around you, and then all of a sudden it didn't turn out so well, so it wasn't a great feeling.
The best I got was second.
Well, Joseph knows he'll at least be on the front row. He's leading with 2 drivers to go. Here is the winner from 2 years ago, Ryan Hunter-Reay, whose team seemed to struggle to find balance and speed at times during this week. Ryan called it riding the Indianapolis roller coaster, as the week of practice is. Now here he is, the next to last car to go, with a chance to be on the pole for the race.
But he helped the team climb out of the hole they were in with his car. He got quicker and quicker and quicker. Nothing that Hunter-Reay does in a race car surprises me anymore.
Ryan, 35 years old, from Fort Lauderdale. Who will forget that stirring fight with Helio Castroneves a couple of years ago? And the images afterwards, he with his wife Becky, their son, now with a second son.
He is a great champion.
Is it going to be fast enough?
We will find out shortly. Top speed is good.
2:30.595 for the first lap.
And he was 2:38 or 39, Scott.
And it looked like he was turning the steering wheel a fair amount. So will he go ahead and use the tools inside the cockpit that Jan Beekes was talking about, making some adjustments as he's going around? And Jan, you have more?
Yes, they've just told him they want him to downshift for turn number 2, and the team's opinion is we want to do a preventative lift in turn 1. In other words, don't let the thing wash out. Just give it a little bit of a lift to keep the traction in the front, and watch the gears to change this time in turn number 2. Well, at least if he follows the team direction.
He downshifted and lifted.
Second lap faster than the first.
Oh, and so close to the wall on the exit. You see that right front? But that's calculated, only a few inches in between the wheel and the wall.
Look how smooth the steering is. Big push with the wind down the front straight.
.7. And half a lap to go. It's close. It's really close.
What's it look like?
Oh, this must be tough for Newgarden. It's a very long 20 seconds.
Is it enough for Hunter Ray, or will Newgarden be down to one more to beat? Checkered flag in the air. Second.
We have 2 Americans on the front row starting the 100th Indianapolis 500. Wow.
230.648 miles an hour. Newgarden's average was 230.700.
You think he's going to drop? Yeah. He's going to put up a wing. He doesn't have a wing.
And we're down to 1.
An interesting point on this, guys, is that Chevrolet versus Honda.
So here he is, James Hinchcliffe.
What a story.
From a year ago, nearly losing his life in a savage crash here. Saved thanks to the excellent work by the Speedway's amazing safety team and quick work by the trauma doctors at the hospital downtown, where he was rushed right into surgery. Never a question as to whether he was going to get back in a race car or not. He did that last fall at Road America. Coming back here at Indianapolis for a test earlier this spring. A big hurdle for him. He's not missed a beat. He's been fast this month. He was fastest yesterday. He has the chance to finish the story where pole position is concerned with the last say of the day.
I keep going back to passion. You can only get through all of that with an enormous amount of passion for this place. And he was blindingly quick yesterday.
We're 4 laps from finding out who wins the pole for the 100th Indianapolis 500. It's either going to be Joseph Newgarden from Nashville or Toronto's James Hinchcliffe.
Looks to be handling very well. Nice smooth arc going through 4. Let's watch as he goes into 1.
Might not be fast enough in the straightaway. He was 238.
You can hear the engine dip down in RPMs a little bit in turn 2. Tells you that the car might not be free enough to get through the turn. He does have those driver aids that we talk about where he can adjust the car's handling from inside the cockpit.
Trying not to scrub any. Look at his hands. How little he's moving the steering wheel.
His first lap was the second fastest opening lap we've seen, but Newgarden's was faster. Lap 2 was even faster yet for Hinch.
This is going to be close.
Sam Schmidt, the team owner, himself, such a great story. Someone it's so easy to root for. Look at the passion.
And the willpower power that man has. It's going to be a critical lap.
Let's see what lap 3 looks like as he takes the white flag. 1 lap to go. 2:30.7.
He's going to have to do a 2:31 if he's going to get pole.
What does it mean to be on the pole at Indianapolis? Sam Schmidt's expressions tell you everything. 2 more corners for Hinch.
He's tracking first. Nope.
Gonna be very close. Is it enough? Hinchcliffe or Newgarden for the 500 pole. It's Hinchcliffe.
I was completely wrong. He didn't need to do a 2:31. That is incredible. I am so happy for Sam. What a day Sam has had today. Wow.
You can't write the script, but it has unfolded in real life. James Hinchcliffe will be on pole position for the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Certainly a special moment for him and his dad, Jeremy, who went around the country with him and traveled around the world when James was going off and racing. His dad supported him so much. Started getting his first opportunity to drive a car at the Bridgestone Racing School up at Moseport, just outside of Toronto, where he lived.
The mayor is on pole.
And that's right. The mayor of his own town, he calls Hinchtown.
His town just went way up on the scale.
What a moment for James. What a moment for Sam Schmidt, Jon.
Yes, and Sam, you can hear the crowd, and the crowd is just so excited. But your expression when he crossed that line, because it was so ultra close, what was that like for you, being able to experience that kind of run?
Unbelievable. 5 years to the day that we did this with Tagliani, and for the 100th running, we put effort into this since last September. It's been an all-out team effort. Obviously, I can't turn a wrench, but my God, the things that have happened today, all 3 cars in the top 10, Mikhail's 7th up there. I mean, just an incredible overall team effort. Can't say enough for Aero Electronics and Lucas Oil, longtime supporter Lucas Oil. I talked to Forrest this morning. He said, just go for it, man. And so, God, I'm just, I'm almost speechless when I got out of the Corvette today. So, great day.
Pretty incredible run in that Corvette at 150 miles an hour. But you're a smaller team. You just took it to Andretti and Penske. That is impressive.
It doesn't matter what the roof is. It's what's under the roof. And, I mean, we got some really, really incredible team members. And even Oriel, who's just with us for this month, he told me today, he said, you have built the most amazing team. And he's been with some heavy hitters, So they got a lot of heart. And God bless America. This is fantastic.
Congratulations, Sam.
Thanks, Jon.
What a great day and a great story here at Indianapolis.
Indy 500. That's a fantastic job. Very, very proud.
This is the only way, go big or go home, right?
Family celebration. People who stood by him through so much in the last 12 months.
Thank you. Oh my God.
All right, Rick, go ahead. It's all yours.
What do you say to James Hinchcliffe as he gets a hug from his mother, Arlene? We've talked a lot about a year ago what your condition was, sitting in a hospital bed, not being able to compete here. Now, you are the pole sitter for the Indy 500. A great event ever, but what does it mean to you now?
I came into this month really hoping that we'd have a new story to talk about after what happened last year, and I think we did it. So I can't believe it. I'm kind of at a loss for words, which, as you know, is rare for me. But the Aero Electronics car was just an absolute smoke show out there. It was right on the edge. Alan McDonald, all my engineers, such a great job. Everybody at Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport, Sam Schmidt, Rick Peterson giving me in this car and giving me the car to do it. These guys worked so hard. 3 Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport cars in the top 10. It's incredible. And now we've got the best seat in the house for the start of 100th running of the Indianapolis 500.
We were talking earlier about what is it like to walk out knowing you have a car to do it, and now it's up to you.
It's crazy. Obviously, this race is always more pressure than anywhere else. There's more focus on it than anywhere else, and being the 100th, there's a little more attention as well. But, obviously, we've done something right as a team, and it's great to be able to stand here with such a great group of guys. And it's a long race. 10 miles is one thing. You got to hold your breath for that whole thing, but 500 is a very different deal. You got to be patient. You got to breathe. You got to know when to push, when to relax. And like I said, at least we got a good starting spot, the best starting spot, and we can kind of go from there.
Your mom and dad came in and gave you hugs afterwards. What did that mean?
A year ago they came here for a very different reason, and they were out of the country when I had my accident last year, and I can't imagine what that plane trip must have been like for them. And mom moved in on May 1st. She said she wasn't missing a single lap of on-track action just in case I tried to kill myself again, and luckily that wasn't the case. So we're here. I mean, these two have been everything in my life, in my career. I couldn't have done any of it without any of them, and we did it, Ed.
We did it, man.
Pull it to 500. How about that? Not bad.
Awesome.
Congratulations to James.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor.
James Hinchcliffe wins his first career pole in the Verizon IndyCar Series in the Indianapolis 500. First driver to do that since Scott Brayton in 1995. He was the last one to run. He wrote a headline that'll be splashed around the world for the coming week, and for great reason. Sam Schmidt and his driver James Hinchcliffe on pole for the 100th Indianapolis 500.
Didn't you chase?
Awesome job, James. Pole position for the Indy 500.
And that was just pole day. What's it going to be like at the end of the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race next Sunday? Our telecast presented by Firestone. We start at 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on ABC. You can also stream it live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. The last several 500s have been nothing short of spectacular. We expect the same next Sunday, although it's one of the great things about the race. You never know what's going to happen. 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on ABC next Sunday. So, a look at the starting field for the Indianapolis 500. Row 1 with James Hinchcliffe over Joseph Newgarden by the 4th closest margin between first and second in history of this race.
I wonder if you were to measure that out in distance, how much that is.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
You'd get frustrated if you were second place, I'm sure.
Scott Dixon, former winner. Marco Andretti, going to come from row number 5. Montoya and Kanaan, former winners from back in row number 6. Remember, Montoya won it from 15th starting spot a year ago.
So he's actually worked his way up the field this time.
What's very evident of the rows here that we're looking at so far this year is there's a lot of team cars spread out through the field, showing you how difficult it was to qualify for the Indy 500 this year.
Graham Rahal will be in the middle of row number 9. I expect him to move forward in race trim come next Sunday.
He is a born charger, so I guarantee you he'll be on a rage when that race starts.
And the final starters, with Jack Hawksworth, Buddy Lazier, and Alex Tagliani getting to go to the last row party. The recognition of those who get the final 3 spots in the 500 field.
I've been to that party, and it's a lot of fun.
That's what I hear. So what a story today for James Hinchcliffe. It will be repeated many times over the next week, but he has written the best chapter that he could have by winning pole for this race. He'll have an opportunity next week to try and really put the exclamation point on his last year by winning the Indianapolis 500 next week. So again, next Sunday, we start at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Got some excellent things that I really think you'll enjoy planned for part of our pre-race show. Then our race telecast presented by Firestone of the 500-mile race. Who will win it? Whose face will go on the Borg Warner Trophy? Who will be known as the winner of the 100th Indianapolis 500? For Eddie Cheever, Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Jan Beekes, and Rick DeBrule, Alan Bestwick saying so long from Indianapolis. James Hinchcliffe is your pole winner.